Hello, welcome to the book of Jude. Today I'm going to prove to you that Jesus did in fact rise from the dead. Now, how in the world could we prove that Jesus in fact rose from the dead? Are we just so bound by faith, or is there evidence in the Bible and extra biblical material that could prove this? Number one, death by crucifixion. It is a well-established fact that Jesus died by crucifixion in the early 30s. There is no doubt among most scholars that this in fact happened in history. It is also a believable fact that Jesus was buried in a known tomb. Most scholars agree that according to the Gospels, he was buried in the tomb that was lent to him by Joseph of Arimathea. Now, Joseph was a member of the Jewish court. Now, this gives us an exact location to where Jesus was buried. Now, this is sufficient evidence because the disciples could not have claimed that Jesus' body was not present after the resurrection if they have not confidently known where the location of the tomb was. So this brings us to number 3, the empty tomb. On Resurrection Sunday, the women found the tomb empty first, followed by Peter and John. But I want to point out that this story starts with the women. If you would tell a lie or make up some type of fictional story or conspiracy that Jesus has been raised from the dead, you would not have used women as the first witnesses at this time. They were not held in very high regard during this period of time, and this would not have been your first option. So in lieu of that, it almost helps the story as evidence that the women were the first ones to find it, and so this must be true. So this actually helps move forward the credibility of the stories in the gospel. Now, an empty tomb does not prove the resurrection yet, but let's move forward. The post-mortem appearances of Jesus. So, as we continue to read the story, we see that Jesus had 12 appearances over a 40-day period. It's very important to understand this is not a spirit nor a ghost or anything of that nature. This is an embodied person. Jesus returns from the dead as a person. He takes up space. You can hear him. You can touch him. To counter this claim, many have said these were hallucinations. But I really don't believe 12 different times over a 40-day period, all of those people, different people, had the same hallucination. One of a resurrected Jesus whom they could see, hear, and touch. Go and see the character of the disciples when Jesus was taken by the mob. I mean, they were scared. They fled for their lives. I mean, no one was even there. They were denying Jesus. They were fleeing. And then we can see after, when Jesus appeared to them, their manner changes. Jesus makes his appearances and then ascends to heaven, but he says the Holy Spirit is coming. After they receive the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, they are on fire. They are going out and making disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. They're preaching the good news, the gospel, even though at times they are flogged, they're imprisoned, and they ultimately give their lives. They would not do this if this was a conspiracy, a lie of sorts, if this was a hallucination that they could not prove. If any of this was not true, we would not see the disciples going to death for Jesus Christ. So for me, the evidence is clear. Jesus did exist in history. He was crucified. There was an empty tomb. They knew the location of the tomb. They saw that it was empty. The women seen it first. They ran to the disciples. After his death, he appeared to them in body form, and he empowered them to preach the good news, which is the gospel. I truly hope this has helped you today in your walk with Christ and your understanding of his resurrection. If you have anything to add, leave a comment below and let me know. And please share it. It may be a blessing to others. Thank you for watching the Book of Jude.